An airfield at Scorton was established in 1939, opening as a satellite to RAF Catterick. 3 tarmac runways were built, along with other facilities, in 1941, and 122 Squadron moved here with Spitfires in 1942. The Royal Canadian Air Force also flew from RAF Scorton. From 1944, USAAF were using Scorton Airfield, with 2 Interceptor night fighter squadrons being based here. Following the move of the squadrons, however, the airfield was used for balloon storage, being put under care and maintenance status until 1952, and returning to agriculture in 1958. The majority of the airfield has given way to aggregate extraction, with either open quarries or lakes covering what was the airfield at present. There is, however, a small section of concrete perimeter track, and some buildings of the airfield were taken apart and reassembled elsewhere in the vicinity, mainly on farms. Though I don't know of any particular stories attached to the airfield, with its rich history in mind, myself and a friend visited on a cold, rainy evening. When walking up to the site of the former airfield, apart from something quite strange, which I'll talk about soon, and 2 people walking their dog, the only things we saw were the odd weasel or stoat. And, as we made our way back, in the pouring rain, an abundance of frogs or toads hopping across the path. Whilst walking about the site, I picked up on a number of impressions left here, and some presences. When walking aside the old perimeter track, and whilst at the memorial area, I became aware of a pilot. This pilot, Henry, was in a jovial mood at first, laughing and telling me and my companion, "You'd laugh if you saw it, lads." I was very confused at first. When explaining to my companion, we were both puzzled. We let that thought rest for a while as we tried to conduct our investigations. However, the rain hampered a full evening investigating. But Henry was still there. Henry was still insisting that we'd laugh at what he did. It was only when wandering back to the car that I saw it. Henry, in my mind's eye, was presenting me with a picture of a plane. A plane in a precarious position. He told me that he'd landed his plane and somehow it ended up on its nose. He said it wasn't the first time he had crashed a plane, and it wasn't the last. With that, the mood changed. Sombre, he told me that he never made it home. That he was somewhere far away. We were leaving at this point, and Henry left too. He didn't say bye to me, but just completely left the field of my awareness. Not a presence, but more of a recording, ingrained on the land here, was the impression of an olive drab jeep. It was being driven rather quickly around the perimeter, with a number of personnel clinging onto the sides. I get the impression that they were Americans, and that the RAF lads didn't really approve. Not with purpose was the jeep being driven. It was more fun and games. I get the feeling that sometimes people when walking here may hear or sense a vehicle approaching, and that is them, the Yanks on the jeep. I also picked up on the presence of a number of ladies from the Women's Auxiliary Air Force. At this point in our investigation, it had started to rain, and I sensed one of the WAAFs, who'd taken on quite a mothering role, despite only being in her mid-20s herself and younger than me and my companion, was telling us to keep dry, keep safe, and go home. The friend who joined me on this investigation described feeling as though we weren't alone. There were no negative feelings at the former airfield, but there was a sadness about what had become of the airfield, and also because at the point of our visit, the plaque which should have been in situ at the memorial had been removed. When walking to the site of the airfield, we'd come across 2 dog walkers who'd acknowledged us. You know, the sort of half nod or, alright. However, in front of us, at times a matter of feet away, were 4 or 5 people, all walking together down the lane. Not one of them turned to look who was behind them. Me and my companion were talking, and I would have thought at least one would notice our presence, and even would have slightly turned their head to look at us. The path to the former airfield splits into 2. This group decided to go left, as they didn't know where the path ahead led to. The walkers were all of different ages, and all dressed in different styles. Some dressed as if going out to walk their dog, and others as if they were going bird spotting. I really wouldn't have put any of these people together. The makeup of the group just did not seem right. None of it seemed right. The walkers never re-emerged. The path either heads straight on and you come out on the main road, or you turn right and end up at the old airfield site, which is where we were. We never saw these people again. By the point we'd realised how strange this was, we were no longer at the location. Given the fact that they didn't know their way around, these people can't have been local. Also, given our proximity to them, and whilst they were making the decision on where to turn, you would have thought they'd have asked,
"Do you know where this path goes if we go straight on?"
And we'd have told them. But they didn't ask. They turned left. I know there's many explanations, and it's probably something mundane, but neither me or my companion can shake off the feeling that there was something not quite right about the people we were following. More so, there's an unnerving feeling about the fact that they didn't acknowledge us, nor did they ask for directions. Despite being in the pouring rain, I decided to conduct a short spirit box session, putting the Ghost Stop S-Box into the hardshell carry case that I use for my investigation equipment. Here are the only pieces of speech recorded. The Ghost Stop S-Box was scanning backwards in AM frequency.